Hey there, friends and neighbors. It's Matt again from MDW GuitarWorks, and find me here in the home office again. I didn't get kicked out of my house. I'm just out doing errands, and so what I'm working on right now is a little bit of an admission of failure. There, you might have seen my Bouzouki build that I did a little while back. I noticed that the neck joint was given a little bit, and I thought I could repair it, and it turns out I couldn't. I actually repaired it twice, and it's just the tension of all 8 strings at pitch was just a bit much for the bodge job I did on the neck joint, which in retrospect I could have done a lot better on that. And so I'm in the position right now of having to rebuild the thing, and I am making a few different decisions this time. I'm not making it a hollow body like I originally did. That was part of the problem. The small amount of excuse me. Hey there, neighbor. The small amount of space that the neck was attached to didn't quite do what it took. So I'm making it again with denser material. That was another issue that I had. The plywood that I bought was like unusually light and kind of fluffy in a weird sort of way, if that makes any sense. You know, I started cutting it, it was real dusty, and there'd be this little fuzzy edge on it, on the cut lines, that wasn't like any kind of plywood I've ever worked with. And so I got what technically is a lower grade of plywood, but it's good and dense and solid, and I'm making a solid body guitar body like an electric guitar, about the same shape. In fact, I'm using the template that I made as one of the layers that I'm laying up. Doing a few different builds. Actually, one of the things that I'm doing differently this time is I'm building the neck pocket first and making sure it's a good snug fit. And if I have to shim up the neck to get the neck angle right, I'll do that, but I'm making sure that the neck goes right in the pocket, and I'm gonna glue it in place and screw it. I think I made a few errors when I made the neck pocket last time. There was a little bit too much wiggle room. It ended up going slightly off axis. There was other issues that I'm going to try to prevent from happening this time. And in the meantime, while I'm working on that, I've also had another couple of projects in place. I did the video on the little kick drum that I built, and well, I modified heavily. I didn't build the drum from scratch, so I can't take credit for that, but I did do a lot of modification to it and turned it into a kick drum when it was a floor tom before. And I'm still waiting on the front decal for that. That's taken longer than I thought it would take. In the same amount of time, I've gotten my band stickers that I ordered from Sticker App, which that's not a plug, it's just who I happen to use this week. I don't have any loyalty to them. They do the same thing that Sticker Mule or anybody else does. We were just getting low on stickers, and we happen to have the cash on hand to put in a nice big order, so we should be fine for a while. But let's see, I am waiting for that front decal, which is not a big deal, but I'd like to have it before our next show, April 11th at Flanagan's. Hey y'all, see you there. But I'm also just finishing up installing a mic in my buddy Keith's drum, his djembe that he uses at all of our shows. Um, he's got a nice mic. It's the kind of mic that you would use to mic a kick drum. So it's a big diaphragm Shure mic that, you know, that kind of bullet shaped thing that I was gonna see if I, yeah, sorry, yeah. I was gonna see if I could just mount the hardware somehow on the side and just call it a day. But as it turns out, I had a better option. I put little eye bolts in the inside of it and got them all snugly and securely in place with some washers, and then ran zip ties from, just because I happen to have a lot of long zip ties on hand. Don't ask why. I'm not a cop, I swear. And so between the zip ties going to the eye bolts and some elastic going around the mic, it's real snugly in place. And did a couple of little minor jobs of like tacking the cable in place so that it's secure and you can't accidentally yank the mic out of the holder, and tacked little Velcro holders, so because there's a short cable that's currently hooked to it that, you know, it's about a 6-footer or so, and so if you're sitting right next to the little sub mixer like I'm going to be getting today, I think it's on the way today, I'll, you know, be able to have that just for percussion instruments, and you can just plug into it right down by your feet and then run from that into the main board. So that'll be cool. So anyway, I'm just about done with the djembe project, and I'll show you pictures of that. And what else? I'm not sure if in the kick drum video if I mentioned wiring that for sound. I just put a little piezo on the inside of the front head and then ran a 1/4-inch jack to the side. If I had a better mic, I would maybe have used it, but it's not a big deal. As long as you run the line to the board and just boost up the bass, you know, it'll thump like a bass drum. It's all you need to do. And so that's pretty good there. Yeah, so I'll be getting back to work on rebuilding the Bouzouki. You know, I'm using all the parts that I had on the original one. Only thing that I can't reuse, of course, is the body. I hacked that all to pieces. It's not pretty, but the new body should look just about the same. I think I'm going with a different color this time, but should be a nice solid instrument if everything goes well. So wish me luck on that. Okay, so here we have the initial problem. That's that lovely crack opening up down there, little double crack there. I think this was even after the first repair, so you could tell that joint wasn't holding. So that's the template that I made the first time around. I ended up using that as the top layer on my new body. And that's the crack opened out even a little bit more. I had to yank it. That's probably a picture I took during one of the previous repairs. Pretty ugly there, huh? And uglier still, that's after I chopped off the original body just to get at the neck, vampire style. And then I laid out my new body. I didn't use templates this time. Actually, I used the top layer as a router template, but wasn't quite as meticulous in using my templates as I was the first time around, because I didn't need to make as many layers on this one. And that's the template on top of the whole sandwich. You can tell I was a little bit sloppy with my jigsaw cutting, so I had to make the router work a little bit harder. And there's my buddy's drum there with the mic mounted inside it. You can see my zip ties and all that good stuff. Now I fixed everything on it without taking the top head off, which I really should have thought about that. Would have made it a lot easier if I had removed the head, because I was reaching up in this thing. I felt like a farmer delivering a calf with my arm reaching all the way up in that drum there. That was a pleasant visual. Sorry about that. And those are the eye bolts, and I got these little nifty acorn nuts on there to just make sure there's no screws sticking out that would snag on anything. Plus it's kind of pretty. Just reinforced the mic in there a little bit. This is my little strategically placed bungees. And there's my lovely Bondo work on the Bouzouki. That's not cake icing, that's Bondo. And after routing and sanding and routing and all that fun stuff, it's starting to look like a Bouzouki again. Yeah, there's my lovely Bondo. Man, that stuff has gotten expensive. I remember it used to be about $10 for a can that size. Now it's about 20. And you open it up and there's only like half a can in there. What's up with that? Rant over. So that's the base coat of some nice hunter green. And then I sponge painted it with more gold. I think I evened up the coat a little bit after that, but that's how I started with it. So you can see the pickup hole is already routed, and that's the little ground wire hole that gets covered up by the hardware. But you need a ground wire in there so that the pickup works. And that's my slightly wonky job of putting screws in there. Should have lined those up a little bit better, but really nobody sees that. That whole back, it's funny, everything is nice and covered. I made covers and everything, but everything's crooked on there. I don't know what I was thinking. And that's it before I put the wiring back in, pick up and all that good stuff. And that's it with all the hardware in place. Starting to definitely look like a real Bouzouki. Oh, and that's my little mini kick drum with the decal on the front. Finally arrived. Looks pretty nifty. Once again, that's a 16-inch floor tom that I cut down to be a mini kick drum. And there it is again. All put together and wired up. And that's my upright bass that came back in for surgery. I cleaned up the joint where it gave way, and I decided I am not going to use epoxy this time because that was just a mess. Gonna go strictly with wood glue and reinforce it with dowels at a very aggressive angle, so it should go very well down into the neck. Because I can't really put a truss rod in something that's already built, but I can peg it together with dowels. And let's see, I went ahead and laminated up a slightly thicker piece so that there'd be more thickness on the headstock. That's basically a 1/2-inch piece of plywood with, I would say, about a piece of quarter ply. So it's altogether about 3/4 of an inch thick. And I drew the design on there and started the pilot holes for the tuners. And I routed the angle on the bottom of the headstock before I cut it out. which makes it much easier to control the router. And I kind of pieced it in place, just holding it in place for spacing right there. Decided to add another sticker to the front along with the bottle opener and the MDW sticker. More Bondo. It looks a lot tastier than it really is. You can see on the side there's the original, the old headstock that's just laying there. You can see what a bodge job I did on the pickup or the tuner holes. That's embarrassing. That's just wet paint. It's not really that shiny. Decided to go with the same green spray paint that I used on the Bouzouki and the same gold sponge paint, which is what I did there. I put in an order for new bass strings because I've had those strings off and on, I don't know how many experimental builds, and they're down to like the last few bare fractions of inches of lead, and one of them just finally gave out. It can't reach the tuner anymore, so I decided I would replace them all at one time. And notice I put little grooves in there as string guides because it's hard to see from the front angle, but there's a definite heel right there, and I want to keep as much of it there as possible for just overall structural strength, but that also means that they would have to ramp over a hump to get to the tuners, and I would be better off making little grooves in there for them to run through. And they run pretty smooth right through there. It's a lovely design. It doesn't jeopardize the strength of the headstock too bad. And there's the final Bouzouki. I added a little DS sticker right there and the little, whatever they call that thing down at the bottom. And that's what you pop off, and you can see where the strings are hooked on. And a little closer up, you can see how dusty everything is. You can also see Mr. Sunshine Banjo back in the background. So anyway, that's that. And you can also see the bass in the background there. And another project that I'm working on. And another project. Because I've always got stuff going on. It's kind of crazy around here. So anyway, that's the Bouzouki rebuild. And I'll take you back to Matt in the shop. Well, all right there. Got finished with it finally. It's my lovely Bouzouki, back from the dead. Solid body instead of a hollow body this time, and slightly different color scheme, but I think it's pretty. Much better around the edges. It was pretty sloppy looking the way I first built it. And little covers I just put on the back so all the wires aren't hanging out of it, and it's overall pretty good. This has kind of been my week for fixing my screw-ups. As you can tell, I got my little upright bass here that's back in for surgery. I'm replacing the headstock on that, which, as you might remember, I already did, but this time I'm going to do it better. So anyway. Kind of rough there, but the first thing I ever actually played start to finish on this thing. So the action's pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's holding tune, which is an improvement over before. And the action up high is not too bad either. Probably can't see it from here, but I can bring it in close. It's got a little bit of room up at the top. It could go a little bit lower still. I could bring the bridge down a little bit, but overall the action is right where I want it to be, in the lowest 7 or 8 frets, which is where I mostly play. And I could bring it down a little bit more still, which is where you want to be. You want to have a little bit of play left in it. So I could bring down the bridge just a touch more if I wanted to, but I'm not really sure I want to. So see, what else have I been working on? I finished the kick drum. The decal came in for it, and it looks pretty. I'll show you a picture of that. And what else? The bass. I got the new tuners. Not these. Got the new tuners for my other upright bass that I was going to swap out because one of the tuners was broken, and the ones that I had on there were Fender style, so 4 out of side, when that wasn't right for that bass anyway. I haven't decided yet if I want to put the brand new ones on the solid upright or put these black ones back on, which, I mean, these are brand new too, so it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of which color I prefer on which bass. Golly, what else? Oh yeah, I'm sitting on my new stool. It's part of the spoils from Patty's Day weekend. I bit the bullet and bought a more expensive stool. It's the little things, you know. Gotta keep my butt happy when I'm playing. Plus, I like this one because it's a few inches taller than my other one, and the seat of it doesn't take up as much space. Plus, it's got a little guitar rack on the back. I can put my guitar back on it when I'm not playing it, which is handy. It's one less piece of equipment I need to bring, so that's cool. And it wasn't that expensive. I just figured I needed to get one. So anyway, that's what I have, and I'll be keeping busy the rest of the weekend on that bass project. I'll keep you posted on that. I thought it was going to be a smaller project than it was, but turns out I was wrong. That ever happened to you before? Happened to me once. Alright then. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff, and feel free to comment on the videos if I'm doing something completely backwards that you can help me out with. I'm always willing to take criticism, so just be kind of nice. You don't have to be rude about it. Hell, I don't care if you're rude. I'll just be rude back to you. So anyway, click like and subscribe, and I'll be talking at you soon. Bye now.